What's going on, everybody? My name is Jake, and welcome to the UFC Seattle official predictions and betting breakdown. Obviously, we had the picking video earlier in the week where I gave just my pure picks as to who's going to win and lose. But this is going to be the bets. So starting off, updated ROI for the year. Ton of house money last week, and it paid off. So we're looking really good, feeling really good. And I like a lot of the spots this week. Should be a decent card. I'm excited to see the main event. You know, it's kind of the old guard versus the new generation. We'll see how it plays out. And I'm back in the OG. So, yeah, we got opening day on. It's a beautiful day here in Columbus, Ohio. So feeling good. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. First fight of the night. Oh, like I say at the start of all of this, you know, please bet responsibly. Don't take this as gambling advice. If you agree with me, great. If you disagree with me, may the better man win. And yeah, say in the comments what you agree, disagree, whatever it is. So anyway, first fight, Alexia Tainera versus Bruna Brasil. I said in my picks video, this was my most confident pick as far as who I think is going to win, that being Alexia Tainera, and I stand by that. These two fought way back in the day when I believe Tainera was like 20 or 21 years old, and Brasil choked her out. So, take that for what it's worth, but the odds makers don't really seem to give a shit about that, and I don't really blame them. Tainera is the biggest favorite on the card at minus 750, so, hard to find some value there, especially women's MMA with odds that wide. But I do think Alexia Tainera makes it look, I don't want to say easy, because, this is a fighter that she fought before and lost to before, but way different points in their respective careers. I think at this point, Tainera is the far better fighter. Bruna Brasil did not look good in the last bout with Ketlin Souza. It seems like when she gets hit, she hates it. She starts to run away. And Tainera is a very physical fighter here at women's strawweight. So I think she dominates Bruna Brasil, and I'm going to go a step further and say that she finishes her. Whether that be a ground and pound TKO or a submission, I think she finds it. It's plus 160. I'm going to go ahead and play that. It's going to be my only play here. Again, tough to find the value with a minus 750 favorite. Maybe you could play a spread. But women's MMA, if it's going to decision, there's a lot of splits, a lot of close ones. Obviously there's plenty of domination fights, but I'm not going to risk a spread there. Her by points is like minus 110, give or take. So that's not a bad bet either, but I'm going to take the finish prop at plus 160. Next fight, Ricky Simone and Adrian Yanez. This is one of the coin flip fights. I said in my picks video, I'm going to stick with Ricky Simone in this. I just think he'll be able to get the wrestling going and land the more damaging shots. Although, if he can't get the takedowns and grappling, Adrian Yanez could very well take over this fight. He's a much better technical striker, boxer. So I could see this going out either way. And my gut's just telling me to stick with Simone. This is kind of a home fight for him. And I don't know. It just kind of followed my gut here. Either way you go with this fight, I think there's plausible, probable cause, whatever you want to say. Arguments to be made for both sides. But I'm going to go with Simone here. Not really technical breakdown for me. Just, again, kind of a coin flip. Going with my gut here, I'm going to say Ricky Simone, KO, TKO, or decision at minus 120. But I am going to sprinkle some on the Adrian Yanez spread at plus 3.5, because I do see this being really close, especially if he can stuff the takedowns and this fight stays more on the feet. It's going to favor Yanez, at least in my opinion. So that'll definitely keep it close. Maybe he wins outright, but not super confident Ricky Simone, but I do think he gets it done. KO, TKO, or decision, and then the Yanez spread. Next fight. This is probably my second most confident pick. I think that's where I ranked it. Navajo Sterling and Bruno Lopez. And I think I encountered a glitch in the system. I'm going to post the tickets right here. I got Navajo Sterling KO TKO at minus 135. Minus 135. On FanDuel is minus 160 by knockout. I went on DraftKings to look at the double chance, and it was minus 135. I'm like, that is not right, but I'm going to jump on this. And honestly, I wish I'd have thrown a lot more on it, because I think this is free. And I don't say that, especially in this sport, I don't say that lightly, but I think Sterling, he hasn't found a knockout yet. I was going to bet on him to win by knockout in this fight. The odds on FanDuel were minus 160, like I said. But then I saw these double chance odds. And sure enough, I'm like, I'm just going to do that. Minus 135. And then look at the odds that it's at now. It's like minus 600. So I think I just lucked out. If I'd have known, which I should have anticipated it happening, the odds jumping the way that they did, I would have put way more on this. I mean, you're covering literally the two best paths to victory for a massive favorite here. Navajo Sterling, I think, is going to piece up Bruno Lopez. Maybe Lopez can get some grappling going, but I just don't see it. And I think Navajo Sterling's going to find the chin and knock out Lopez anyway, but now you're giving me the decision. I mean, hopefully DraftKings doesn't, punish me for this. I know I have $20 on it, okay? Don't punish me. The only reason I didn't put more is because I thought the odds were going to stay like that, and I was going to wait to have more money in my account for March Madness bets. But then they jumped up to minus 600. So disappointed I didn't jump on it sooner, but I'm all over this. I think Navajo Sterling, again, finds his first UFC knockout. He's the much better striker, and he's going through that City Kickboxing Canon event where he's got the bleached blonde hair, and now he's, tatted up. So he's due for a good performance here. Maybe he's zesty like the rest of them. I don't know, but Navajo Sterling, KO or decision at minus 135. If you didn't get that like me, KO at minus 160, I think, is a good play as well. I really do think he's getting his first UFC knockout. But I just wanted to show those odds because I was astounded by the differences in them. Next fight. Sorry, my typology is not. It keeps crashing on it. Casey O'Neill, Gabriela Fernandez. Another one of those coin flip fights for this one. I'm going to be kind of quick. I kind of gave my breakdown of it in my picks. I think Casey O'Neill's going to have the better volume striking, but I favor Fernandez with the power and, just the overall physicality. I think it's going to be close either way. My gut's telling me Fernandez, similar to how it was telling me Ricky Simone. So I'm going to say Gabriel Fernandez straight up on the money line at minus 130. But Casey O'Neill, I'm betting these fights pretty much the exact same as I am the Ricky Simone fight. I'm taking Gabriel Fernandez on the money line, close to even money, pick 'em odds, whatever you want to say. But Casey O'Neill's spread as a parlay piece, I believe, is minus 220 or 205, one of the two. Pretty quick on this one. Not going to have a lot invested. Really, really close women's MMA fight. Should be good. Fernandez is on a nice winning streak, and Casey O'Neill is good, but is just seemingly never active. So I'm going to go with a more active, hot fighter in terms of her recent MMA career, not the looks. Gabriel Fernandez, not even going to try a method of victory. I could see this fight going a multitude of ways, and either way it goes, I think it's going to be close. But I'm saying Fernandez wins, but we'll go the O'Neal spread. Marcin Tybura and Tyrell Fortune. UFC debut for Tyrell Fortune going against the 40-year-old blobby Marcin Tybura, who I think is going to get chinned here. I'm going to say Tyrell Fortune gets a knockout. Only bet I'm going to have on this fight, I'm going to have the bonus bet on Tybura decision, because I think if Fortune isn't able to reach that 40-year-old Tybura chin, I think Tybura could get the wrestling going and just lay and pray for 2 rounds and get a decision win. Plus 500 odds is more than good enough for me there. But I do see Tyrell Fortune because, he hasn't fought the best of competition, but I do like that he's kind of an experienced and well-rounded fighter. He does have a wrestling background. The power in the hands is going to be on his side. And Marcin Tybura, at this point in his career, I think would get knocked out by almost anyone at heavyweight. So I'm going to say Tyrell Fortune here in his debut comes out, makes a statement, and becomes a fucking ranked heavyweight in the UFC. Knockout is plus 155, and then the Tybura bonus bet decision at plus 500. Next fight, Chase Hoopa and Lance Gibson. The longer this week has gone, the more I'm actually favoring Chase Hooper. I think a lot of people are giving more credit to Lance Gibson than I personally think they should be. Not that Lance Gibson's horrible, but I think this is a great buy low spot on Chase Hooper and maybe a sell high on Lance Gibson. Even though he lost his last fight, it was a split decision. And it shouldn't have been a split. Like, Bobby Green clearly won that fight, and it was maybe even 30-27. But definitely 29-28 should not have been a split. So I think this is a good, buy low spot on Chase Hooper. Like, imagine if he would have beaten Alexander Hernandez and not got knocked out, he would probably be like a -4 500 favorite here. And now, because of that, and the fact that Lance Gibson took a split decision to Bobby Green, who just recently knocked out Daniel Zellhuber, now I think you're getting a discounted price. So I think he could get this done. Submission's going to be the way I play it. Plus 220, I'm going to play that there. But even a Chase Hooper money line, parlay piece here, I don't think is bad, because I think he's shown improvements in the striking. Obviously, it's not his strong suit, but his striking used to be dog shit, and I think it's come a long way. But if this fight gets to the mat, I mean, he's going to style on Lance Gibson and find that submission, or even just control time and ground and pound his way to a clear decision victory. So, like I said, the longer this week has gone on, I've kind of bought more into Chase Hooper, which is something that I'm a little bit hesitant to say after the Hernandez knockout. But again, had that not happened, I mean, and Gibson, maybe if this was Gibson's UFC debut, or if that fight was a unanimous decision to Bobby Green, I mean, I think Hooper would be like -4 500 here. So I think this is a good value here for Chase Hooper. I'm going to say he gets it done by submission, but also a little moneyline parlay piece for me. Next fight, Ignacio Bahamondes and Tofik Masaev. Like I said in my initial picks, I think if this was 2020 or 2019 Tofik Masaev, 6 or 7 years ago when he was more in his prime, he would be really live here. And I still think he could maybe give some problems to Bahamondes early. But I think Bahamondes, he's got a knockout over Manuel Torres. I know he, disappointed in his last fight against Fiziev, but I just rate Bahamondes at this point in their careers. I think he's going to be the much cleaner striker. And if he survives an early storm, I really see him taking over this fight and piecing up Tofik Masaev. Even if Masaev takes him down or maybe even knocks him down, Bahamondes off his back, I could very well see him finding a submission on Tofik Masaev. I think he gets this done inside the distance, and I played that at -110. But even Bahamondes' money line, -290 when it first opened, it's up to about 310 now. So a little bit more money coming in on Bahamondes. I just think he's a much better, younger and better all-around fighter in the spot. Masaev isn't terrible, and again, I think early on he could look all right, but I just really favor Bahamondes. After like the first 3 or 4 minutes of the fight, I think he can really start to take over and find a finish. So I'm going to say Ignacio Bahamondes by finish at -110, and then his money line for a parlay piece. That is the feature prelim, by the way, which I think, there's some good fights on this card. Some close ones. I think it'll be pretty good. Main card opener, this one shouldn't last long. Terrence McKinney and Kyle Nelson. Like I said, my initial breakdown and pick was not very long because I don't think this fight's going to last very long. Under 1.5 has usually been free money. Of course, now they say that it's not. This is going to be the one time it doesn't go under 1.5 and it reaches the third round somehow. But I'm going to. Sorry, I'm looking for my remote because I was streaming the Reds game and now all of a sudden it went down. But now it's coming back up. Yeah, I'm going to say Terrence McKinney wins and under 1.5 rounds. That's a -135 parlay on DraftKings. And I'm going to specifically say, I said this in my initial breakdown, I think he's going to win by submission. Obviously a lot of people are going to be on the knockout, which could very well happen. Anyone who says they can, accurately predict and feel confident about a Terrence McKinney fight, I think is a liar. But I just think he's the way more talented fighter here. And he's going to come out like a wrecking ball like he always does. And I think he catches Kyle Nelson and gets a little club and sub here in the first round. So Terrence McKinney to win in under 1.5 rounds. I don't know what the fuck my Wi-Fi is doing here. I apologize. I'm distracted. But it's opening day. I'm trying to have it on. But yeah, that little parlay. And then McKinney sub in round 1, I believe, is plus 380 or 390, one of the two. So those are going to be my only 2 plays there. I would not have a lot of money on this if I were betting this, because these Terrence McKinney fights usually don't last long, and you can predict that it's going to end shortly, but who is the one winning and how it happens is really a toss-up. So McKinney for me, and then those plays that I mentioned. Next fight, this should be a really good one. I'm excited for this. 2 prospects, Mensur Abdul Malik and Yusri Belgaru. or Belgarui, however you pronounce it. I'm sticking with Yusri Belgarui here on the money line. I think he specifically gets it done by decision because I think this is going to be a back and forth fight. And Mansour, I feel like he'll be able to get a little bit of wrestling going, but I favor Belgarou to be able to get back to the feet. And just the outside kickboxing, I think, is going to be way more on the side of him. Close either way. Maybe a late finish for Belgarou. Obviously, Mansour has some finishing upside too, but I do think this fight goes to the scorecards. But even if it doesn't, I'm going to take this fight to go to round 3 at minus 120, along with Belgarou money line, and then both fighters by decision for bonus bets. I believe Usuri is like in the plus 300s, and Mansour is like plus 420 or something like that. Let me pull up my action to see those exact odds that I got it at. But I just see this being a close fight, a really competitive one between two highly rated prospects, at least to me, at middleweight. They're pretty exciting. And I just have I could see someone getting finished, but I don't think it's going to happen out that way, or if at least not early. So Belgarou by decision is plus 320. Mansour Abdul Malik is plus 430. I'm going to have bonus bets on both of those. And then the fights start round 3 at minus 120, and straight up Usuri at plus 100, even money. Should be, I hope I don't hype it up and it turns out to be a stinker, but I think it'll be one of the better fights on the night. This one should also be, pretty exciting. Julian Erosa, Larian Douglas. I thought about taking a look at Julian Erosa just straight up on a dog shot because of the UFC experience, because he's finished so many fights, but he's also been finished a lot. And I really think Larian Douglas is going to catch him with a check hook and put his lights out in this. Larian Douglas by knockout, minus 145. But I am going to give some respect to Julian Erosa because, he's been in there a lot. He has a ton of finishes, slick submission game. I think if he does survive a Douglas storm, or maybe even if he gets knocked down and Douglas is careless and sticks his neck in a bad area or what have you, I could see Erosa subbing him up. So, part of me thought about taking a dog shot on Julian Erosa here, but I really think he's going to get sparked. But I am going to do a bonus bet on him by sub or decision. That is plus 440. And then, like I said, the Larian Douglas knockout prop at minus 145. I also think this fight goes under 1.5 rounds because Julian Erosa is going to be in Douglas's face, putting the pressure on. That leaves him susceptible to getting countered early. And maybe if it does work, if he takes down Larian Douglas, I think he could find the sub early on. So I favor both fighters finishing upside early. So under 1.5 rounds and KO TKO are both minus 145, and then the bonus bet on Erosa by sub or decision at plus 440. Next fight is the retirement fight for Michael Chiesa against Nico Price. I mean, he should make this look easy. This should be a layup in his retirement fight. He should go out there and sub Nico Price within the first 2 rounds. Maybe he wants to ride it out, for the good times in his last UFC fight, and then they're going to give him a fucking 15, 20-minute retirement thank you package afterwards anyway. I like Michael Chiesa. I'm not saying that because I don't like him. It's just probably how it's going to be. But he should make this look easy against the ghost of Nico Price. Like I said, my initial breakdown, I feel good for Nico Price, not because I think he's going to win, but because I really don't see him getting knocked out here. That would be fitting for me to be all over the sub lines at minus 135, the sub and decision parlay piece. Get you a little bit extra value on his money line, which, again, I don't say this lightly in MMA, but his money line really should be a lock here. So sub or decision brings it down to minus 370, give you a little extra value. And I say that, and he's going to get his only professional TKO here in his retirement fight against Nico Price. This would be the guy to do it against, but I'm going to stick to my guns. Michael Chiesa, submission, minus 135, and then the sub decision parlay piece. What I've noticed about, like I said, I use FanDuel and DraftKings primarily. FanDuel has the much better odds for these double chances, like sub decision. Minus 370 here. On DraftKings, it's like minus 500, 550. And then usually FanDuel and DraftKings have similar, method of victory or money line lines. But the double chances really favor on FanDuel. So, again, I think that's basically taking his money line. You take it from minus, I think it's up to 800 now, which is ridiculous for a 38 Michael Chiesa retirement fight. But I get it. He's going against Nico Price. Minus 800 down to 370, or even if it's up to like minus 400, you're getting double the value. So, parlay piece there, and then Chiesa by sub. And he gets to win his retirement fight and, ride off into the sunset and be just a panel analyst for the UFC. Co-main event is Alexa Grasso and Macy Barber, a rematch from, I believe, 5 years ago in which Grasso won 29-28. But I favor Macy Barber in the rematch here to get it done by decision. I just think, Alexa Grasso has not looked good in her last couple fights, albeit against the best competition at the weight class. I'm not going to discredit her for that. But Macy Barber at 27 years old, I think is approaching the prime of her career. I don't even think she's there yet, but I think she's just going to be much stronger, much more physical. And although I think Grasso will command respect and keep it close, I think Barber's just going to be able to get the job done with the wrestling and takedowns. And as long as she doesn't, do the classic Macy Barber shadow box into thin air, like exactly what I just did there, shadow box in thin air, like she did in the first fight between these two. I mean, it's been more so Alexa Grasso doing that recently. As long as she doesn't do that and actually gets in the face and puts the pressure on Grasso and uses that physicality, I think she could maybe dominate this and get 30-27. But even if it's 29-28, I favor Barber getting the takedowns, the ground and pound, doing the more damage, and getting a decision win. By far her biggest of her career here in the co-main. Money line at minus 158, and then her to win by decision exactly plus 100. And also the fight to go the distance for a parlay piece at minus 350, because neither of these girls finish a lot of fights, and I don't see it happening here. And certainly I didn't just jinx that. But anyway, Barber money line by decision, fight to go the distance parlay piece. Main event, like I said, I'm going with the OG, the second best, maybe even best middleweight of all time here. And the more this week has gone on and just hearing Adesanya's interviews, I think he's going to style on Joe Pyfer here. I know Joe Pyfer has the big knockout upside, and I did play a bonus bet, kind of a hedge there just in case at plus 300. But I really favor Israel Adesanya here. Like, point finding is going to be so much on the side of him. Takedown defense is great. I just hope that chin isn't completely gone, which some might say it is, especially after the Imavov knockout. But I just cannot fade Israel Adesanya against Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer's good, but I've never been super high on him. If this was Adesanya against who's another middleweight prospect, like I'd probably take Adesanya over RoboCop. I can't even say RoboCop. I can't even think of someone off the top of my head, but it feels like a better middleweight fighter, like, I don't know, maybe Cal Barajo or something along those lines. I'm not sure. It's just maybe I have too much respect for Izzy and he gets chinned here again and I look like a fool. But I'm going to be all over Israel Adesanya in this spot. I'm going to take his money line. It opened at plus money and I jumped on it way back in like February or beginning of March. Whenever this fight was first announced, I took Adesanya at plus 104. Since then, it's jumped up. I think he's like up to almost, cat cameo. This is Gary. The black one, his name is Keith. I have two cats with human names. But I believe Izzy's up to like minus 140, maybe even minus 150 now. So a ton of money's coming in on him, which makes me scared because now the books are going to want Pyfer. But I think money is coming in on him for a reason. It's just like if this fight was even 2 years ago or even before the Imavov fight, right? The odds on this, Izzy would be like minus 700. And I know, like, yes, he's only gotten older, right? And Pyfer's more in his prime. And, he's only been chinned and submitted since then. But just Pyfer's best win is Abus Magomedov, and now he's fighting Israel Adesanya. Like, even at 36 years old, I think Adesanya is going to be able to style in this and, style bender. And I think he wins 49-46. So I'm going to go Izzy money line by decision at plus 165. and then the over 3.5 round. This is funny. Over 3.5 rounds at -135, because I do think if he does get a finish, I think Pfeiffer's live early, but if he avoids that, I think Israel Adesanya, if he does get a finish, would be in late round 4 or in round 5. So I'm going to play the over 3.5 rounds, but I'm going to stick with the OG, one of the middleweight GOATs, possibly won last time, but I can't bet against him in this spot. So that'll do it for all my plays there. Like I said, if you're tailing me or fading me, either way the coin, please bet responsibly. Only bet what you can afford to lose, and do with your money what you're comfortable with. I say that every time, but I really mean it. So anyway, that'll do it for this. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think of the picks. And as always, we'll recap on Sunday or Monday. Everyone have a great weekend. Enjoy the fights. If you're a baseball fan, happy opening weekend. And I'll see you guys next time when we recap UFC Seattle. Cat signing off. Goodbye.